Hello and welcome to the Retro Odyssey podcast. I'm your host, Steven, along with my co-host, Matt. How's it going, Matt?
Not bad, thanks. How are you?
I've been all right. I got a new job, and we moved. We moved about an hour away from where we were living, and we really like it so far. We're in an apartment now instead of a house, so our bills will be much more reasonable.
That's cool.
I did find a little bit of time to play some games during the course of packing and moving and everything. The main thing I've been playing, we've talked about this a bit um, outside of the podcast, but I've been playing a lot of Resident Evil, basically going through the majority of the series. And they're all fantastic games. Even the ones that have a reputation for not being that good, I still got some enjoyment out of.
Yeah, I still can't get more than an hour into RE6, personally.
And what's funny is that's about where I stopped. Is I played I played about 2 maybe 3 hours of Resident Evil 6, and it's not that it's not that I like strongly disliked it or anything. I just I got pulled back into Final Fantasy 14. That's what I've been doing the last couple of weeks, but for a while there I was kind of on a tear with Resident Evil.
Yeah, there's a reason that it's my favourite video game franchise. I I love it a lot, as I've mentioned numerous times.
Yeah, they're absolutely fantastic. Um, I played through the first so the I played through the first five numbered entries, playing through the original versions, and I started Resident Evil 2 remake. I think I'm like 2 or 3 hours into that. Um, and then I also played Revelations, Code Veronica, and I started Revelations 2, but I was having an issue on the Steam Deck where some of the cutscenes weren't playing, so I'm just gonna come back to that one either on my PC or on a console.
I really like Revelations. A lot of people don't, but the whole kind of like haunted ship kind of thing I really like. I mean, I know it's not haunted, but that kind of abandoned ship vibe I really like.
Yeah, like Man of Medan.
Yeah, and portions of Resident Evil 7 as well.
Hmm. Yeah, I quite liked it. Um, and so what I did was I played Revelations between 4 and 5 because I saw that that's when it takes place.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean I thought it was fantastic, and I mean and just in general I haven't really had a bad experience with them. There's games I enjoyed more than others. Resident Evil 2 comes to mind. I played through the full set of scenarios, Claire A, Leon B, and then I've started. I've started a couple, like a few different runs on it, whether that be on GOG or on the GameCube version on the Steam Deck, testing that out. Um, that game is so good. It really is.
It's my favourite of the Resident Evil games, the original two.
It, you know what? It makes sense. And I have to praise the GOG versions because they are the only versions of those first three games where you have cutscene skip and door skip available to you. Like, I know the doors are an iconic thing for Resident Evil, and it adds to the atmosphere and all of that. But when you're just trying to burn through, that doorscape is really nice.
Yeah, for me, I think I would keep it on personally. Just for like nostalgia.
You can still like let the cutscene play. It's not like a setting. It's you can just hit the button to skip the door opening scene.
Ah,
But you can still let it play normally. But yeah, the only one I didn't play all the way through the original version was the first game because I played through remake for that one, and I actually did 3 runs of that. I did one for Jill, one for Chris, and then a second one for Chris doing knife only.
yeah, the remake is probably the best way to experience that game. I do still love the original, but if I'm gonna replay the first game, it's probably going to be the remake.
So I actually, if I want the original experience, it's either gonna be so for the actual original experience, I'll play the GOG version, but the DS version is actually fantastic.
Oh, the Deadly Shadows one.
Yes, dead or is it? I think it's Deadly Silence or something like that. But yeah, that is amazing.
I do have it, but I've never actually played that.
Yeah, so it has what's called rebirth mode, which is a version that has extra like scenes where you use the stylus to swing at zombies and stuff. And I think the scene with Richard, like you have to use the microphone to like give him CPR or something. There's extra stuff they added on, but there's also classic mode where you can just play the original game with all of the quality of life enhancements for the DS version. Things like the knife having its own button and not taking up an inventory space. Or actually, you know what? I think the DS version you can skip the doors too, because it's the only version that's not loading from a disc. But yeah, when we talked about Resident Evil in the past, said that I could see the potential. I just hadn't dug deep enough to really get the full experience. Well, now I have, and these games are fantastic. This is like I should have been playing these games 20 years ago.
Yeah, I love the whole series. It's it gets silly, but it's always been silly. It's always been over the top. There's some dumbass stuff there, but it works because they just if you're gonna do really stupid shit, you need to go full hearted into it, and they do.
I think Resident Evil actually it can get silly, but it doesn't get as silly as something like Metal Gear Solid. Metal Gear Solid goes full in on the wackiness and just making things as crazy as possible. Resident Evil is still kind of grounded. It's just it's a campy B movie kind of feel.
Yeah, I think for me personally, one word I wouldn't use is grounded personally, but
it's more grounded than something like Metal Gear.
Oh yeah.
Like nobody in
I get what you mean.
Nobody in Resident Evil breathes through their skin.
No, they breathe through the multiple mouths that they on the monsters that they evolve into.
Yeah. I have to say I like that they continue to get creative with the monster designs. Like you mentioned Revelations. I really like the monster designs in that because it's it's very clearly zombies plus sea life, and it makes for really cool looking monsters.
Yeah, my one complaint about Revelations was there wasn't enough variety in the monster design for me.
Mm-hmm.
But that didn't affect my enjoyment of the game.
Yeah, I was gonna say, they probably thought because they had the hunters in there that was enough variety, but no, the hunters were part of the problem because that was the only thing you fought in those flashbacks. But yeah, so I have fully bought in on the Resident Evil series. I have picked up almost the entire series, and I'm really looking forward to the rest of them. But what have you been doing the last couple of months?
Well, I finally rolled credits on Horizon Forbidden West.
Very nice.
Absolutely love that game. I've still got a load of side content and the DLC and stuff like that to do, which I'm like slowly chipping away at. But yeah, like story wise, not as good as Zero Dawn, I think, because that was more revelatory and you kind of like there's a lot of twists and turns in that story when you find out exactly what's been going on. And in Forbidden West, like, okay, that was the big twist of like the series. Now it's just different problems, but not as major revelations and stuff like that, if that makes sense. But yeah, I've been absolutely loving that. I have also been playing Vampire Crawlers, which is a spin-off of Vampire Survivors. It is a card-building roguelike dungeon crawler game. And yeah, it is using all of the same spells and enemies and stuff from Vampire Survivors translated into a card game, which you wouldn't think would work, but it does. It's a very different game, obviously, but yeah, I went through. I've fully completed all of the achievements in there. I've platinumed the game. My one complaint is that there isn't really that much replayability yet. In Vampire Survivors, you can keep doing runs and collecting like golden eggs on characters, which give like a 0.1% boost, like permanent boost to that character. There isn't anything like that in Vampire Crawlers yet, but the golden eggs went in there at the start in Vampire Survivors, so I am assuming that as more stuff gets added, maybe there is something else that will allow like a bit of replayability, because the only reason you kind of like go through again, if not for just like the fun of the run, is for gold. And I've currently bought everything that I can do with gold. I've like got all of my power-ups, all of the card upgrades and stuff like that. So there is currently nothing for me to spend gold on.
I mean, based on the roadmap that Vampire Survivors had, which I don't even know if they had that roadmap laid out at the beginning, but based on the content that came out for that, I think it's safe to assume that they'll expand this one in a similar way.
Oh, definitely, yeah. It's just right at this moment, there isn't anything to do with any extra resources that I gather.
Right. Yeah, I haven't picked this one up yet because I've been very busy. Although it is on Game Pass, so I downloaded it to one of my Xboxes, so I'll try it out at some point here soon.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of fun. And once you get used to the mechanics and stuff like that, it is very addictive.
And I mean, card game roguelike dungeon crawler, that's like some of my favorite things.
Yeah. The runs do take a bit longer than you would do on Vampire Survivors, but not a huge amount of time. You're probably looking at about 40 minutes, maybe a run, depending on if you beeline to the bosses or kill everything on the stage.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's pretty much everything I've been doing apart from the usual stuff. Guild Wars 2 just got a new patch, so I've been playing that. Bit more Minecraft. So yeah, that is all I've been playing apart from the games that we're going to be talking about later on.
Mm-hmm. I do. Since I mentioned Final Fantasy 14, I know you've only been going back occasionally for the story content. Have you seen any of the stuff for the next expansion that they announced?
I saw the trailer. I believe it's called Evercold.
Yeah, I think so.
Outside of the trailer, that's literally all I know, and I've not played like the last two story patches, so I've not seen anything that leads into it.
I mean, literally, the name is all I've seen. I haven't even seen the trailer or the logo or anything. But that's going to be interesting. I've heard through one of the groups that I'm part of that there's some interesting changes coming in the next expansion.
I know there are some combat changes. They are reducing the number of buttons that you need for each job, but it's going to be like an optional thing. Like you can choose to play this new consolidated version, or you can continue playing the version that they've currently got.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think is that the evolved?
Yes.
Or is that something complete? Okay. Because that's been mentioned a few times in my my group for the solo challenge.
So all of the evolved jobs, they're going to be the same jobs, but they've like consolidated a lot of the buttons down and stuff like that. Which, as I said, again is optional. Any new jobs that they add will only have that evolved version, though.
That's interesting. I had literally not heard anything about it, but I am curious to see what kind of changes they make, especially because there's still classes people have been saying need to be fixed. There's classes people have been saying need to be fixed since Heaven's Word. But yeah, now that I'm back in, I'll be kind of keeping an eye on information for that. But yeah, do we have any news to discuss?
There is one small one. Guild Wars Reforged is now coming out on phones.
Interesting.
It has been announced to be coming out on smartphones. It's a simple enough game that it would work quite well on smartphones. You do have like a limited number of combat buttons in that game.
Right.
So it is something that would probably work quite well there.
Huh.
And that is, I'm not sure of the exact release date, but yeah, it's already on Steam Deck, but yeah, having it available on phones will allow people to play it on the go a bit more. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, I did. I finally picked up Guild Wars Reforged, along with a couple other games during one of the sales. I just haven't gotten around to playing it yet.
I've not put any time into it in over the past few months. I played it for like a couple of weeks quite solidly, but I've not been back to it yet. I've just had other stuff to do, but I will get back to it at some point.
Yeah, all right. So if there's nothing else for us to go over, we can go ahead, take a quick break, and move on to our topic for the episode.
Okay.
All right. Our topic for this episode is a series that means a lot to a lot of people because it's a series that's been running for 40 years. We're talking about Sonic the Hedgehog. I know there's a lot of anniversaries this year. There's a lot of 30s and a lot of 40s, but this episode we're talking about Sonic. So Matt, I know you played a whole lot more Sega than I did growing up. So what is, well, and you've talked at length about certain Sonic games. So what's your general history with Sonic?
So I started out with the Master System version of Sonic, which I still love to this day. It is a very different kind of game to the Mega Drive version. The Mega Drive version came out first, but it wasn't a straight port like you would expect. It's a completely different game. It's a bit slower moving. It's more focused on the platforming aspect. Great soundtrack to it. Absolutely love the soundtrack to it. So I played that game to death as a kid. And then when I got a Mega Drive finally, I played a bit of Sonic 1, not a huge amount of Sonic 1. Mostly I played Sonic 2, which remains to this day my favourite Sonic game. Sonic 2 on the Mega Drive is just a fantastic game, from the music, the gameplay, level design. Everything is just like fantastic in that game. I love it so much. Apart from that one bit in Chemical Plant Zone, which anyone who's played will know exactly the bit I'm talking about. But yeah, I just loved those platforming games growing up, and after that, I didn't really engage that much with Sonic. After those platforming games, I didn't play any of the later ones really to any kind of extent. I didn't play the Saturn Mega CD Dreamcast ones at all, and it wasn't until Sonic Mania came out that I actually put significant time back into the franchise, and a few of the later games, one of which we're going to be talking about later on, which I put quite a significant amount of time into as well. But that's pretty much my history with Sonic.
So my history is kind of odd. So as I've stated before, I did not own a Sega system until the Dreamcast, and I didn't get my Dreamcast until 2014. So I think I played Sonic like at a friend's house a few times back in the day, but the main engagement I had with the Sonic franchise, at first, I actually had some of the older games on PC. So I had a one that we're going to talk about a little bit later, and I had Sonic R on PC. And I played those a fair bit because you know I didn't have that many PC games, and those games were pretty fun. But then the when they started releasing them, when they started releasing the Sonic games on Nintendo systems, that was kind of when I started playing more of it. So Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, Sonic Heroes. There's a few other ones for GameCube. Basically, my brother was always more into Sonic than I was, so he was the one who had some of the games, and I was just kind of like playing his copies. But that was kind of it. Like I've I haven't played much of the newer ones. Like I haven't played Sonic Mania. I'm trying to even think if I've played any of them. I can't think of any right now, but I know I played some of those GameCube ones, and I played a couple of the Dreamcast ones much later. One of them I fully intend to put on another one of our episodes. It's called Sonic Shuffle. It's kind of a Mario Party ish game. That one's a lot of fun. But anyway, I didn't have a lot of experience with the Sonic games, but one game I did have a lot of experience with is Sonic 3. We wanted to cover a traditional Sonic game, and I actually Sonic 3 is the game that I have the most nostalgia for when it comes to Sonic. Just because it's the one I played the most. I had a PC collection that was it was called the Sonic and Knuckles collection. It was Sonic 3, Sonic and Knuckles, and Sonic 3 and Knuckles. And as usual, I was terrible at the games. Never I never got very far in them. Going back later, I don't think I've ever made it past the second or third stage. Or if I did it long ago and have since forgotten everything about it. But I actually, so for someone who didn't play the original Sonic games as much, Sonic 3, it feels like a good jumping on point. I mean, pretty much all of the original games are decent jumping on points. But Sonic 3 has a lot of features in it. Just I mean, you can play Sonic, Tails, or both, and then if you have Sonic and Knuckles, you can play an entirely separate campaign as Knuckles.
Yeah, the Sonic and Knuckles was it was meant to be like one whole game, but because of time constraints, actually due to like a tie-in they had with McDonald's, actually, they had to get the game out by a certain point, so they ended up splitting it down and having Sonic and Knuckles as its own cartridge, which you then plug Sonic 3 in to get like the full experience, and you could also plug Sonic 1 and 2 into the cartridge. It was like a pass-through cartridge.
Yeah.
And then you're able to play as Knuckles in those games as well.
Which I've never done that. Because I've never had the actual cartridges. I just had those PC versions. But I've always thought that was super interesting.
I do have the Sonic and Knuckles cartridge, but I don't have Sonic 3. physically.
I think I have a Sonic cartridge floating around. I'm not sure which one it is. If I had to guess, it's probably Sonic 2. But regardless, I don't have a Genesis to play it. So, but yeah. So, what do you think about Sonic 3?
Well, this is the first time that I've ever put any significant time into it. I did actually finish it. Um, I think that it's okay. Um, Compared to the previous Sonic games on the Mega Drive, I kind of find the level design to be quite frustrating in this one. Um, the Sonic games have always had like a more maze-like element to the levels. Unlike the Mario games, where you pretty much just go left to right, in the Sonic games you go up, down, left, right, backwards, forwards, wherever. And I think they kind of overdid the maze-like element in this particular game, and it causes you to have to stop and take things really slow quite a lot of the time. And on the bits where you are able to go fast, they love putting their little spring traps at the end of those fast sections, which will just bounce you straight back again. They really overuse those spring traps in this game. It becomes like quite frustrating for me because whilst the previous games did have bits of that, there were still quite a lot of elements, quite a lot of places in the levels where you were able to like zoom through if you knew where you were going. And this game for me just makes you slow down way too many times to really come up to the quality of those two previous games. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of Sonic 1. It's kind of like Green Hill Zone's fantastic. And then the game's kind of like, oh, you really enjoyed Green Hill Zones? Well, fuck you, here's Labyrinth Zone. For like the second world, which I hate the second world of Sonic 1. But Sonic 2, you know, they did have kind of like some maze-like levels, but you were still able... There was more of a flow. I'm probably not explaining it great, but there was more of a flow to it. Compared to Sonic 3, where I think the levels are over-designed.
Well, wasn't it in Sonic 2 where they started adding the more of the like where the verticality ended up being like different routes? So like if you went up, if you were skilled enough, you could stay up there the whole time and have a different experience than if you were on the bottom the whole time.
Yeah, they had they did introduce like a lot of different routes and stuff like that, that you could take, and you know, it's that is where like the maze like levels kind of like started to come in quite a big way in Sonic 2 with multiple different ways that you could take, and there were still some bits in Sonic 2 where you had to slow down quite a bit, but not as much.
Well, and that level design, I actually enjoy that more than 2D Mario, because again, like this is still 2D platforming where memorization is the best and only strategy, but there's more to explore in Sonic levels. So I can at least get more out of the moment to moment gameplay and eventually have longer times before I die.
Yeah, I mean, it is still a good game. Don't get me wrong. but I just feel it doesn't have the same flow. Plus the bonus levels as well are horrible. I hate the bonus levels in this game so much. I love the bonus levels in 1 and 2, especially 2, where you kind of like going down a half pipe and collecting rings. In this one, you have to like collect blue orbs and avoid red orbs, which playing this as I did on a 360 controller on my PC, I just could not do them. The version that I played was the Steam version, and luckily it has a rewind feature on it. So that rewind feature got a lot of use in those bonus stages, because it is so difficult to kind of like control yourself and not hit those red orbs. It's I did not enjoy those bonus levels.
Yeah, there's a lot of times where I'll find I'm turning too early and going right into a red orb. I have the Sonic Mega Collection Plus on PS2. So I played that originally, and then I just played an emulated Genesis version on Steam Deck after I moved. But those bonus levels are one of the things I remember the most vividly, and I was able to successfully complete one of them on the most recent play that I did.
You need to do 7 of them to unlock Supersonic.
Right, to get all the Chaos Emeralds. But I mean, I think I only found 2 of those, and then I found another one. It was one with like a rotating stage, and Sonic is in ball form, and you bounce around, and you have to get to a goal.
Yeah, that one is if you have 50 rings when you go through a checkpoint, it sends you to that.
Okay. Yeah, I think I did that once and had completely forgotten that was in the game. So when it showed up, I was super confused.
I never actually had 50 rings while going through one of those checkpoints, so I never actually got into those, but I have seen them before.
At the end of the day, classic Sonic is classic Sonic. There was even if there was some variance in between those first 3 games, there was still a baseline of quality. I would argue that the first 3 games are enjoyable to some degree, as opposed to some of the 3D games, which there's some of them that are borderline impossible to play.
Mm-hmm. I also wanted to bring up, I don't really like the music that much in this game. So originally, quite a famous story. They had Michael Jackson compose some of the music for this game, and not a huge amount of his music made it in. A few tracks did, but re-releases down the road have kind of like, I believe, removed all of them. So the music in the version that I played probably isn't the same as what would have been in the cartridge. But I'm not super huge on the music in this game, as opposed to the previous 2 games. I think the previous 2 games soundtracks are awesome, and this one not so much.
Yeah, I mean, I think like the original has some iconic tunes. Like, most people, even if they haven't played the game, they've heard Green Hill Zone. Um, but yeah, thinking about it, I can't remember much about the music, and that's probably the most damning thing you could say about it. Because I mean, we are always talking about the music, so if I didn't particularly notice it, that doesn't speak well of it. But it's also kind of weird for me because for I associate Sonic more with what is it, Crush 40, than the classic tunes. Just because I played more of those GameCube era ones than the classics. But I mean, at the end of the day, if you've played classic Sonic, you have a general idea of what this is like. There is a story, but I've never gotten far enough to see the whole thing.
I mean, I think maybe the manual's got more of a story than the game actually does. I mean,
oh, almost certainly.
You see, there isn't actually dialogue at all in the game. You just see Knuckles stealing the Chaos Emeralds at the start. Robotnik is there sometimes for some reason, and then Knuckles is there again later on.
Just to be a jerk.
Yeah, he doesn't really tell you much.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know there is a story, but I I don't know anything about it. But yeah, I mean, this one was, I felt that we should at least touch on classic Sonic on an anniversary episode, because I mean it was a phenomenon. Like,
oh yeah,
Sonic was a huge deal, before the jump to 3D.
Yeah. Sonic was everywhere.
Even after, Sonic was able to ride that nostalgia wave for much longer than anybody thought possible.
Yeah, and it's all down to these classic games, and Sega. I do have like kind of a gripe with the version that I played. So you have a Sega Mega Drive Genesis Classics Collection, which was actually delisted about a year and a half ago. There's been multiple, but the ones that got released on like modern consoles and Steam
PC,
it had loads, like tons of old Mega Drive games, Genesis games, and that got delisted a year and a half ago. And most of those games aren't available for purchase now on like modern systems. The Sonic games are, because they released Sonic Origins, which is a collection of the 16-bit Sonic games, but most of the other games, stuff like Streets of Rage, stuff like that, you cannot buy them. They just delisted this old collection, and they just haven't put most of these games up there again, which is stupid. Like, if you already have it in your digital library, then you can download it again, because that's what I used to play Sonic 3. But yeah, it is quite bizarre.
They loved those Genesis collections for a long time. Like, it was wild. But yeah, I do agree that they they should make some of those available. For a while, they were doing the Sonic the Sega Ages collections, I think.
On the Switch, yes.
Were they only on Switch?
I'm not sure that's where I bought them, because I actually did a check of the PS5 store just to see if any of the classic games are available, and I typed in the names of a few franchises, and the only ones that I could find were like the Sonic Origins collection, which have just got those early Sonic games in. So no kind of collections for Streets of Rage, Altered Beast if you want to be a masochist, stuff like that. Golden Axe. Yeah, you can't. Golden Axe is great, and you can't play it.
Okay, I do not see any on Game Pass. Okay, so there's a Sega Vintage Collection for Golden Axe, not currently available. Looks like the Golden Axe one was delisted in 2024.
Yeah, that's when the Classics Collection was delisted, December 2024.
So I'm seeing Streets of Rage, Golden Axe, Monster World, and Alex Kidd Vintage Collections on the Xbox Store, but they're not currently available.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
So I mean, they're still jerks.
Yeah, and then like when you've got massive comprehensive collections like the Atari collections that are currently available, it's just bizarre that Sega currently don't have one and haven't had one for a year and a half.
I mean, look at Konami.
Yeah, Konami's doing great with their collections.
I mean, Konami made basically made all of Castlevania accessible, including the ones that are very, very hard to get a hold of.
Yeah, you can even go on PS5 and get Kid Dracula in a collection.
Yeah,
You know.
there's really no excuse.
But yeah, I think we could probably lament for ages on this one.
Yeah, I mean the bottom line is, if you want to play classic Sonic, there are ways to play classic Sonic. There just may not be a way to play that many other Sega games from back in the day. But yeah, I mean there's tons of ways to play classic Sonic, and worst comes to worst, you can. The Genesis is one of the easiest systems to emulate. So I do recommend checking out classic Sonic games. They are, I will say classic 2D Sonic is more enjoyable than classic 2D Mario.
Yeah. I'd agree with that.
I don't think that's a popular opinion.
I would say Sonic 2 is better than Super Mario World, but I think Super Mario World is better than Sonic 1 and 3.
Now, when it comes to the 3D games, that flips. I think the 3D Mario games are significantly better than the 3D Sonic games.
Oh, yeah.
But when one of those games is Sonic 06, that kind of skews the data. But anyway, we're going to take a very quick break and come back with our next game.
Okay. Okay, so I want you to imagine that you are a fly on the wall in the BioWare offices. You have the entire development team there, and the lead developer brings the great news that they've given you the chance to make a Sonic game in the Sonic the Hedgehog Gotta Go Fast video game franchise. And luckily, he has some fantastic ideas. He says, I want to make it an RPG game where you can't really go fast. And you have multiple characters and a hell of a lot of dialogue and quests. And I also, in order to future-proof this game and make it impossible to emulate, I want to make it exclusively touchscreen controlled for the DS. And everyone in the room just cheered, and then they all did lines of coke off of Sonic's cold rotting corpse. And that's a true story of how our next game, Sonic Chronicles The Dark Brotherhood, got made.
Yeah, that about covers it.
Did you enjoy this one?
I did not. So I suggested this game because it's been on my radar for years. Because it's a BioWare game, and I have firmly established on this podcast multiple times that I love BioWare games. The problem is this, like, you have two things that are good, Sonic and BioWare. You put them together and it does not work.
Yeah, not like this. Like, How did you actually play this game? Do you actually have a physical copy?
Yes, I actually have a cartridge of this. So I played this on my 3DS.
With me, I had to emulate it. Now, the first two emulators that I tried actually crashed when it got into the gameplay. So I ended up going to a third one, which allowed me to use the mouse instead of a stylus. And that is not a good way to control a video game. Having to use a mouse in place of a touchscreen is such a miserable experience. So I got maybe 10-15 minutes into the gameplay of this. As soon as I got to the point where you have to start making certain gestures with the stylus to do the POW moves in combat, I was like, this is not going to work. So I ended up watching gameplay of like the first couple hours of the game until I got really, really bored, because this game is just not fun. It is not fun to play. It's not fun to watch. If I had been playing this on an actual DS, I probably would have stuck with it a bit longer, but probably not very long, because this is just not a good experience overall for me.
Yeah, it wasn't that great of an experience on actual hardware. So I played this on my 3DS, and I basically play all of my DS games on 3DS. I can't imagine playing this on an original DS with the smaller screen. Truth be told, I don't see myself going back to this at all, except to maybe get footage. If I ever get around to making that series was about BioWare. And dear God, I don't want to hear anyone complain about Mass Effect Andromeda ever again. Because this game is way worse.
Yeah, I do not know what they were thinking. It is everything down to the gameplay. The music as well is horrible.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you would have thought that they would have been able to capture at least some of the magic in like the soundtrack, because they've got some of the classic sounds. They've got like the classic jumping sound, the spin dash sound, the ring pickup sound, stuff like that. Could they have not licensed some music? Because the music here is awful.
Or at least give us like a chiptune version of Crush 40 or something. As someone who is a moderate fan of Sonic and a big BioWare fan, this was just a massive letdown. Like it, I I don't particularly like those early DS games that controlled exclusively with the stylus. There's only a couple of games that I think did it well. One of them, which we probably won't cover on the podcast, is Pokemon Ranger. That one, it so the way you capture Pokemon in that is by drawing circles around them in the battle screen. But at least in that game, you could still move on the overworld with the D-pad.
There's no reason why they couldn't have incorporated D-pad controls in this.
Yeah, like you can't do anything with the buttons in Sonic Chronicles. It just nothing happens, and it is I don't like the games that are like that. It drives me nuts.
I mean, when an interactable icon pops up on the screen, you can press L or R to activate that instead of pressing it if you want.
Instead of tapping it.
But all movement and everything else, like there's a lot of dialogue trees and stuff like that, which you can't select with the D-pad.
It's all stylus.
Yeah.
I don't like the early DS games where you have to use the touchscreen for everything. And like I said, there are some games that do it well. I know, like the Brain Age games, for example. Something like that was fine because that was, puzzles and quizzes and stuff, not, pseudo action gameplay.
Yeah, and those games you could feasibly emulate and play with a mouse.
Yeah, absolutely.
Without too much problem.
And then something like Metroid Prime Hunters, that one you use the stylus kind of the way you would use a right stick on a controller, and it's actually really easy to emulate that game with a controller. So like those early DS games where they forced the touchscreen into everything, it's just I don't like when games do that, and this was a bad example. This was like one of the worst examples I've seen of that design mentality. And the fact that it's Sonic and BioWare just made it worse.
Yeah, it doesn't. This style of game just doesn't fit Sonic at all. I have no idea why they would decide to do an RPG with turn-based combat with Sonic.
Maybe they thought because it worked for Mario, it would work for Sonic.
Oh, but Paper Mario has charm. They didn't bother with that here.
I was actually thinking of Super Mario RPG. The original. But the thing is, I'm pretty sure Square Enix made that one. And, Square Enix in the 90s was the king of JRPGs. BioWare doesn't do turn-based RPGs. They do Western RPGs.
Yeah, the one saving grace that this game has, if such a thing is even possible, is that in the dialogue trees, you can make Sonic talk to everyone like an absolute dickhead.
Yeah.
If you want, you can just choose like the rude option in the dialogue tree for like every single conversation, which can sometimes be quite fun.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't want to hear anyone complaining about Andromeda or anything else BioWare has done as the worst thing ever, because dear God, this is by far the worst thing BioWare ever did. And I say that as someone who has played a bunch more BioWare games than we talked about on the podcast. This is not a good BioWare game. This is not a good game.
Yeah, it's just nothing about this works at all.
Yeah. I wanted to try it out, and I wish I hadn't.
I had to download 3 different emulators to get this to work.
Which is that's bizarre to me, because DS emulation has gotten so good in the last 4 or 5 years. Like to find a DS game that the emulators don't work with is really, really odd. That is not common.
Like it was fine. Like the intro cutscene, stuff like that. Even like the little tutorial when you first get into the game, that was fine. But as soon as it gave you player control, it would crash on the first 2 emulators that I tried.
That is nuts. What emulators did you try?
Oh, I don't remember.
Okay.
This was like a month ago. I don't remember which ones I used, but
oh, okay.
Maybe they would have worked with different games.
Everybody should just stay away from this one. It's not worth the hassle. It hurts to say that about a BioWare game, but just don't.
Well, that was that was quite short and sweet. Well, not so sweet. It was actually awful. But we could rag on this game forever if we wanted to. But I think it's probably best if we move on. I think.
Let's move on to our last game, which is significantly better.
Yes. Okay.
So our last game is one that we both actually have some previous experience with. It is Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing. So I own the transformed version. For this one, we played the original game, but it essentially plays the same except for the transforming vehicles, and they're quite good. I really enjoy these games.
Yeah, these are some of my favorite kart races. I've not played the third one, which is Sonic Team Racing, but the first 2, Sega and Sonic All Stars, and the second one, Sonic and Sega Transformed, or the title is something like that. They are both really solid kart races.
The basics is everybody has a car or a vehicle of some kind. In Transformed, they actually switch from car to watercraft to flying vehicle, and it almost feels like the natural evolution of something like Diddy Kong Racing, where you had the 3 vehicles, but you were you were basically locked to a particular one for a race, whereas the Transformed flips between them, and it feels very fluid.
Yeah, it's quite similar to what they did in Mario Kart 8 as well, where you had the anti-gravity stuff. Your kart would transform into kind of like an anti-gravity version whenever you went over certain parts of the track. So kind of similar to that kind of thing, really.
Yeah, and you also had the gliders starting in Mario Kart 7, I believe.
Okay, so with this game, there is a Steam version. it's not the best Steam port. There are some issues with it, but it is the one that I played back in the day. But I actually have a really funny story. So I decided this time that I wanted to play the console version because I've got like first two games on PS3. So I was upstairs drinking coffee and I thought, you know what, today's the day I want to do this. So put my coffee down, went to my cupboard which has got my PS3 in it. Took the PS3 out and it turned out to be a load-bearing PS3. So a lot of stuff was leaning on it. A lot of stuff crashed out of my cupboard and knocked my coffee over, all over the carpet in my spare room and my whole carpet. So spent about 20 minutes cleaning that up. The carpet is still a little bit stained now, but I dealt with that. Finally took the PS3 downstairs, started to hook it up, and then I realised this isn't a PS3, this is a PS4. I picked up the wrong console. So I went back upstairs, took the PS3 out from a different cupboard, which wasn't load-bearing in any way. I could have just avoided the whole thing if I'd have used my eyes the first time. So I took the PS3 downstairs, hooked that up. It needed to do a software update because I've not turned it on in years. Took about 15 minutes, fine. Had to change my password as well for it. Took about 5 minutes, not a problem. Finally put the game disc in. Nothing happens. So I thought, okay, that's kind of weird. I tried a different disc, worked absolutely fine. So checked the disc again, looked perfectly clean. I bought it secondhand like years ago. Put the disc in again. Again, absolutely nothing happened. So I took it out again. I was like, what the hell is wrong with this? And I realized that when I bought the game, they gave me the Wii version of the game in the PS3 case. So long story short, I ended up playing this on Steam again.
That is wild.
Yeah, I wasn't about to set the Wii up because fuck that. So yeah, I ended up playing the Steam version of this, which it still it runs well. At least on my PC it does, but it has a problem where if you're playing with a controller, none of the button prompts actually show you controller button prompts. It still only gives you keyboard shortcuts for the buttons, so you don't always know what buttons do what. Once you've gone through the game a couple of times, you know which buttons you need to press for whatever, but it does only give you keyboard shortcuts for those buttons, so it is a bit odd in that sense. And some people have reported that there is quite a lot of lag sometimes. I personally didn't experience that myself, but it is something that comes up quite a lot for people with the Steam version.
I played the PS3 version. I just picked up a copy for like $5 or $6. And I actually I was pleasantly surprised because I have a racing controller for PS3. It looks like it's shaped like a normal PS3 controller, but it's got pedals for X and square, and then it has kind of a weird wheel thing instead of where the D-pad usually goes. And that is fantastic for playing racing games, but I can only use it on PS3, so I'm always happy to find another game I can use it on. Yeah, I have transformed on PS3 as well. So it, I mean, you know, it's a good game. It's a very enjoyable experience. Um, it it can feel like a little bit of a step back coming from Transformed, but again, it's still a good game.
So, who is your main?
Uh, Probably Shadow.
I always go with Amy Rose myself.
I mean, she has been driving a car the longest. Because I always thought it was funny in Sonic R, everyone was just running except for Amy, who drove a car. But yeah, I probably use Shadow the most. It's either Shadow or Sonic.
Yeah, I've always like just played as Amy. I don't know why. Um, I like I like pink characters for some reason. I always main Peach in the Mario Kart games. Uh, they just appeal to me more. But yeah, so this is essentially kind of like the same kind of thing you've got in Mario Kart. You have GPs and single races, time trials, stuff like that. One of the unique things that this game does is by playing the races, you earn racing points, and you can spend those points on unlockables. So you can unlock characters, you can unlock new racing tracks, you can unlock new music tracks. So there is kind of like a hell of a lot of content here. Like there are a lot of races. Not not as much as something like Mario Kart 8, maybe. But there are a lot of different races that you can choose from, and they all have different special moves. So there is one pickup that you can get called an All Star, and that is like a unique move that each character has. For Amy Rose, it's like a hammer that you can whack other players with. And a good thing while using the All Star, the game actually steers for you, so you don't have to concentrate on driving. You can just concentrate on using the attack move. So it is like a really, really interesting way. If you kind of like quite low in the pack, it's a really good way to kind of like get back into the race and get like higher up there.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't remember that item at all, but I think I only ever played on the easiest difficulty, so I was always way ahead.
Yeah, I don't know if you do. You probably don't get it if you're in like first place. Because items in these kind of games generally are weighted, so you will get items that are more detrimental to other racers the further back you are. Whereas if you're in front, you're just going to get kind of like shields or maybe a speed boost, something like that.
Yeah, that's pretty standard for kart racers.
One thing about this game that really sets it apart, though, for me, is the races are actually commentated. This is something that I haven't really seen in other games, but there is a commentator giving like a play-by-play of what the characters are doing. They'll say kind of like this character's got an all-star, or that character's gonna feel that if they get hit by like a missile or something. It brings like a lot of life into the race. There's never like a quiet moment. The music is fantastic as well. There's a lot of really inventive course designs, and that all together just combines into like just a really fun experience.
The only other game I can think of where you have someone commentating on the race is the Star Wars Racer games, and even that, it's primarily focused on what you're doing. But yeah, that does add another element to it that's very fun. And I also think the roster for these games is good, particularly because you get to see some of the more obscure Sega characters getting some spotlight. Because, like, when's the last time we saw a Jet Set Radio game, but Beat is still in these games?
Yeah, you have stuff from a lot of Sega franchises. You've got Super Monkey Ball. You've got House of the Dead. Obviously, all of the characters from Sonic, and yeah, it's just a massive roster. You've got some of the Shenmue guys as well. It just gives a lot of variety, and I think it was a good idea to make it more of a Sega racing game than just a Sonic one.
Well, yeah, because they already made a top tier Sonic racing game. It's called Sonic R.
I will play that one day.
Oh, if you don't, I'll make you play it one day because
Yeah.
I love that game. I didn't even know it was a Saturn game originally. I just knew about the PC version.
But yeah, this is honestly one of my favorite kart races. This and the sequel, because they both play more or less the same kind of. Apart from, as you said, in the second one you do get like the vehicle variants and stuff like that. But this is up there for me with Mario Kart 64 and Mario Kart 8, which are just pinnacles of kart racing to me.
I would put Transformed above the original just because I love that vehicle variety. But yeah, I mean, I would put this up there with like Crash Team Racing and stuff.
How did I forget about Crash Team Racing? Jesus Christ, that is like my favorite kart racer. I forgot about that.
And we should be clear, the original Crash Team Racing,
Oh,
not
absolutely the original.
But yeah, I really enjoy these games. I do not regret buying a copy of the original to play this, because originally I was playing it on Steam Deck, but PS3 emulation on Steam Deck still isn't perfect, as we discovered with Eternal Sonata.
Yeah.
So I just grabbed a copy. It was less than $10, and that's totally worth it for me.
I'm gonna have to try and hunt down a copy, another copy of the PS3 version.
That's so insane.
Yeah, that was like a whole a whole afternoon of like shenanigans, just trying to play this game. And I don't want to play it on the Wii particularly, so I will probably have a look out for a PS3 version. They're pretty common. It's not like a rare game or anything. Luckily, I did check, and my copy of Transformed is actually a PS3 disc.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't difficult for me to find a PS3 copy. In fact, I think I got it on Amazon. Like, it was super easy to find. It's not that hard of a game to get a hold of. I would recommend anyone that enjoys Sonic or kart racers, check these games out. They're very fun.
Yeah, if you can look over coffee stains and keyboard prompts, then the Steam version as well is going to be really accessible. They're not expensive on Steam. They easy to get, runs well for me at least, but do check out the Steam reviews beforehand, just so you are aware that some people do have issues. And also Google how to get out coffee stains just in case everything goes tits up. Yeah, can't really recommend them enough. but both of them. And yeah, Transformed is probably the better of the two, but both of them are definitely worth playing, and so much unlockable content in both of them as well.
Yeah, and because of how old they are, there's no microtransactions.
Yeah, but yeah, I think we've probably said all we can about this one now. We both really love it. Definitely worth checking out. I don't remember if I mentioned this earlier, but the music in this game as well is awesome. It's all like party
absolutely.
tracks, and they've got vocals, and yeah, it's really, really good. But if that's all we've got to say, then shall we move on and close things up?
Yeah, let's do that. Alright, so that is our episode on Sonic. I'm sure we'll come across other Sonic games in other episodes, but we felt like the anniversary was a good chance to talk about the series in general.
Yeah, definitely. Sonic is now an old man, and which is why we decided to bring on a guest host for this episode as well, with Steven's son. It's the first time that we've had a guest host for a long time.
It's kind of a special episode.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's like I said earlier, we have there's a lot of 30-year anniversaries this year and a lot of 40s, because a lot of games came out in 1986.
Yeah, and next month we have another anniversary coming. We won't say what, but yeah, there is definitely another one coming along.
But yeah, so please look forward to that. And other than that, all we have is to say goodbye. So, goodbye.
Goodbye.